You're lying. You know one exists. You told him about it. You told him about the Elder Wand and where he could go looking for it.
He tortured me. Besides, I only conveyed rumors. There's no telling whether he will find it.
He has found it, sir.
Hello and welcome to Harry Potter, the official film podcast, where we're deep diving into the entire series. Because if Harry can survive 8 movies, we can definitely overanalyze them. I'm Rhianna Dhillon, lifelong Harry Potter superfan, film critic, broadcaster, and I think Accio Horcrux was genuinely worth a shot, Hermione. On this show, we'll revisit each movie with a quick recap, not that we could ever forget, and then we're going to dive deeper, discussing our hottest takes, calling out the tiniest details, and digging into the behind-the-scenes magic that made this series so special. And you can watch every Harry Potter film along with us on HBO Max. Today, we're on to the first half of the final film in the series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Here with me again to share their love of all things Harry Potter as we dive into the final film of the series is LA Times film critic Amy Nicholson. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I love that we dressed in our funereal blacks today.
I know, we are in mourning today. We are mourning Harry Potter. I'm also just really enjoying the chance to kind of dress up as Bellatrix today.
You look phenomenal.
Thank you. You look absolutely gorgeous as well. For anyone listening to the podcast, stop listening and start watching because you're missing out. Okay, so we're talking about the Deathly Hallows Part 2 today. What do you remember about when this first premiered back in the summer of 2011? What was going on in pop culture? Why was this so impactful?
What I remember is that it felt like it was the focus of attention that summer. I mean, as a little bit of personal story for myself, Harry Potter has been a series on screens as long as I've been a film critic. So to make it to the end of the franchise is almost a marker in my own personal life.
Yeah.
You know, there is something special, I think, in pop culture about a franchise that goes on this long, where you watch the actors grow up. You become really connected to them.
Yeah.
I try to be a neutral critic. I really do. I really do. But sometimes there are actors where you just say, I have seen you from when you were small. So I remember going into this, sitting down and thinking like, what's going to happen to these kids? Not even just on screen, but in their post life.
Yeah.
You know?
I got to do the junket, so I got to interview a lot of the actors for the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and I was meeting them all for the first time, and like you, I'd watched them, I'd grown up with them, and so that was maybe the first time where I felt like I was really speaking to my peers. We were all in the industry, we'd all sort of come up together, and that felt really special. And I just remember everyone being so lovely, like just being surprised at how brilliant the actors were. I guess they'd done interviews for like the entire time they'd been on Potter. But I remember just how warm and fresh it still felt, which after, a decade is actually quite impressive. So we last saw Harry, Ron and Hermione escape Malfoy Manor with the Horcrux hunt still unfinished as Voldemort claimed the Elder Wand from Dumbledore's tomb. Meanwhile, back at Hogwarts, Snape's reign as headmaster has transformed the castle into a militarised stronghold where students are punished, terrorised and forced into obedience.
This movie doesn't start off with any element of warmth or comfort. It starts straight away into the world of grimness, negativity. Here are the stakes. Here are the risks.
The marching really surprised me and shocked me. Like just seeing the way that they were all in formation, and then to see Snape presiding over it, like this isolated figure. What do you think he's thinking in that moment?
There is something about seeing a school that we associate with creativity, color, chaos, mess, all of a sudden being lockstep, right? When you sort of drill the individuality out of people that we know as complete individuals.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that Snape shot that you're referring to, because so I'm picturing him, he's in the doorway, he's looking out. That's an iconic shot in movie history. I kind of think of it as the John Ford shot. It's a shot that you would see John Wayne do a lot. Standing out, looking out in the searchers. And so to have David Yates kind of calling back to like the great, dark, conflicted heroes Just file that shot away, because once you start looking for it, you'll see it in a million movies.
That's really interesting. I've never thought about that. And I suppose because when we're watching this film for the first time, we don't know that Snape is a hero or has any heroic elements in him. I don't know if I'm ready to call him a hero at any point, but he isn't like an out-and-out villain. But this is, I think, a really poignant moment for him. At Shell Cottage, the survivors of Malfoy Manor regroup, and Harry, now in possession of Draco's wand, pulls Griphook for a chat. Their conversation is complicated. Griphook confirms that the Sword of Gryffindor inside Bellatrix's vault is actually a fake. More importantly, he hints that the vault may contain other valuable things, like a Horcrux, maybe? Warwick Davis plays Griphook as just incredibly still, which is very unsettling, I think, to watch.
Yeah, it is so static. It's just, it's really like a face-off.
Yeah.
You're like looking at one side of a coin, another side of a coin, one side of the room, another side of the room. For me, when I watch this scene, I start off distrusting him, but there's something in his rhythm and the way that he is just like, here's my answer to that, here's my answer to that, what's in it for me, that I kind of find myself trusting him more. Right? Which is wrong, probably. Definitely wrong. But there's something in a straight shooter. And I think this scene, the way that it's shot, has that straight shooting element.
But it kind of like pulls the rug, right? Because like you said, it feels like he's being really honest and open and asking for what he wants. It doesn't feel like he's going to betray them.
Exactly. Because he's so clear.
Yeah.
I think he'd say, but I won't do that for you.
Yeah.
It's almost mean. You're right.
Yeah. And then Harry goes into Ollivander's room, and this is a very different vibe again. So tell us about the filmmaking decisions here and why it feels so different.
Yeah, you have the camera placement that's making him look a little bit smaller, a little bit more
It's higher up,
fragile.
right?
Higher up, yeah, looking down on him, which is usually, in film language, symbolizes a sort of like powerlessness, a feeling of smallness. But I find this conversation more depressing, honestly, than on Griphook, because he just seems to say, you guys have no chance. And to hear that from someone you want to trust is harder.
I feel like Ollivander has always been on that periphery of, do we trust him? Do we like him? Because a lot of the adults in the early films, we're encouraged, like Hagrid, McGonagall, Dumbledore, these sort of older figures of ancient magic. We're kind of encouraged to like believe them and trust them, and Ollivander is one that always is kind of on the line. You don't know where his allegiances are. He gave up the information, and it feels like not many people would have done. So yeah, he still feels like quite a murky figure to me. So Griphook agrees to help the trio break into Gringotts to search for a Horcrux, but only if Harry promises him the sword in return. Just one minor problem: it's the only weapon that they have that can actually destroy Horcruxes. Naturally, this plan is absolutely insane. Are you ready to get polyjuiced one last time?
Bring it on.
Madame Lestrange.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. You Bellatrix Lestrange, not some dewy-eyed schoolgirl.
Hey, easy.
She gives us away. We might as well use that sword to slit her own throats. Understand?
Hermione snagged a hair off Bellatrix during their time at Malfoy Manor, which she uses to polyjuice herself into Bellatrix. Ron disguises himself as a Death Eater, rocking a ginger beard pretty well, and Harry hides beneath his invisibility cloak with Griphook. Together, the foursome walk right up to the teller's counter at Gringotts. Unfortunately, Hermione is a bit too polite to convincingly impersonate Bellatrix. Just before they're exposed, Harry uses Imperio on the goblin Bogrod to force their way into the vaults. So what did you think of Helena Bonham Carter playing Emma Watson, who is playing Hermione, trying to pretend to be Bellatrix? I
mean, it's fantastic. All of that silent body language that she's just conveying.
Yeah.
She comes into this film, just even as a character, Helena Bonham Carter, just padoom, here I am, hair flying. She's not a large woman, but she carries such presence.
Yeah.
To see her shrink, the way she's like tilting her shoulders in, crouching down. She seems half the size that she was the last time that we saw her.
And I really love like the idea of her being a bit wobbly in her heels, and the fact that that was a choice that Helena made is just such a smart one, because you're immediately like, she feels so uncomfortable, not just in this body, but in the clothes. This is so unlike anything that Hermione would ever wear.
Very much. I mean, she was just tortured by this person a second ago, and now she's wearing her skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the little bits of just personality and conveyance that she's showing. Nobody will listen to her because of the way she speaks even. They won't even look up Bellatrix has never walked into a building and people don't notice her.
That's so
and here
true.
she's like, excuse me.
They ride the cart down undetected until the thief's downfall strips away their cover and breaks Bogrod free of the curse. Harry imperiouses him again, but unfortunately now there's a furious blind dragon to contend with who is chained and conditioned to fear pain at the sound of the clankers. I know, sad. Poor dragon. Griphook navigates the group past the beast to enter the vault itself. Harry immediately goes for gold, literally, only to find the overflowing treasure has had the Geminio curse placed on it. Every object they touch multiplies instantly. This is such an iconic scene. It's not only on the cover of the book of the Deathly Hallows, or at least my copy that I had, but it's also at the Warner Brothers Studio Tour London. It is a really fun experience place where you can go and there's you can stand in amongst this mound of treasure and get photos of you with the sword of Gryffindor and the cup. Tell us about this scene, why it's so beautiful, why it works so gorgeously on camera.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's just so much action happening with even the cup movement, doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling. And doesn't it seem to you to have that sort of old-fashioned fairy tale kind of horror? This feels like a curse that you would get in an old-fashioned
Yes, it does.
If you were, I'm greedy, I want gold.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, have all this gold and it will choke you. It will literally, you will die and suffocate in gold.
It's incredibly dark. So Stuart Craig, who is the production designer, basically designed this set to sort of rise above them. So that's why it looks like the treasure's multiplying. I mean, it literally is. The ground level is changing, and that's why it looks like they're drowning in it. It's so smart.
I mean, doesn't it look like fun though? It's the best ball pit. If you ask me what scene I'd want to wrap around in, that's probably the one.
Yeah, it would be so fun to play in. And we always talk about the level of detail on Potter, but this is something that I can't quite get my head around. The props department made over 210,000 gold coins for this scene, and they had over 7,000 versions of Hufflepuff's cup.
I mean, do you think everybody on set that day got to take one home?
Maybe. I feel like you would have.
Absolutely.
You'd have nicked one straight away.
Oh yeah, I love a prop.
Harry hears the same high-pitched hum that he heard from the locket, and he scrambles over mountains of rapidly reproducing gold and finally spots it. Helga Hufflepuff's cup, another Horcrux. Harry manages to grab the cup, but Griphook, the guy that you trusted, double-crosses them. He takes the sword and leaves the trio to drown beneath an avalanche of multiplying treasure. Somehow they escape. Chaos erupts as security wizards chase them down, and Bogrod is roasted alive by the dragon. That's unfortunate. Hermione has a plan, as usual, though it's a bit mad. She blasts a hole through the stone wall and jumps directly onto the dragon's back. It is seen straight out of Enemy at the Gates. Harry and Ron follow, and the trio burst through the roof of Gringotts on the back of a fire-breathing dragon, soaring into the sky over London. They crash down into a remote lake, soaked and exhausted. Harry's immediately flooded with visions. The diary, the ring, the locket destroyed. Voldemort's onto them, and the clock is ticking. Standing on the hillside, they know there's only one place left to go: Hogwarts. This scene is great. It's this really interesting, one shot going in a circular movement around the trio as they're getting ready.
You're whisking, you're whirling, you're dizzy almost. It has that sense of whew, now what?
Yeah.
But I keep getting distracted by the fact that Ron is struggling to put on his clothes. To have both hands stuck in your sweater at the same time, if that's on purpose, that is intense physical comedy. That's like Mr. Bean.
I feel like it's not on purpose, but I love that it is. I feel like it's just Rupert Grint, but also just getting through the scene and not breaking and not being guys, we need to go again because this is not working for me. The fact that he still manages to do it is and it also emphasizes his gangliness a little bit as well. He's just got these flapping arms going around.
I mean, if it is an accident, then good on the editor for keeping it in. Because I don't like movies that polish everything out like that.
Yes.
And everyone puts on their shirt immediately because they're cool.
Yeah. We also see in this scene, Voldemort is absolutely furious. And we see a lot of the goblins and maybe the security wizards at Gringotts have all been slain. So we see that Griphook is now dead. It's a very immediate comeuppance, I feel like, for this character.
You have this sense of the old world order completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Completely either everything's going down or something has to be rebuilt.
Yeah. They apparate into Hogsmeade under cover of darkness, only to trigger the caterwauling charm and find Death Eaters patrolling every street. A voice whispers from the shadows, "In here, Potter." Inside the Hogshead pub, they meet the landlord. Details begin to click into place. The mirror shard that Harry's been staring into, it's not Albus, but Aberforth Dumbledore that he's been catching glimpses of. So film-only viewers now finally understand why Harry's been obsessively looking into this shard of mirror for 2 whole films.
I am so glad we're getting to talk about this. I read all the books when they first came out, and then on this rewatch was slightly foggier in my brain. I was thinking, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing with the shard?
So the shard is essentially, so from the books, it's like a 2-way mirror that Sirius and James Potter used to share and talk to each other in detentions. And Sirius gives Harry one. So if he ever wants to talk to him, he can. Harry thinks, I'll never use this because I never want to get Sirius into trouble or out of the house. Obviously, that doesn't go so well. And then we find out that Mundungus sold it when he ransacked the house and gave it to Aberforth, who's been keeping an eye on him. And as he points out, thank God he did. Aberforth warns the trio that the Order is finished, insists that Voldemort has already won, and completely dismantles Harry's idealised image of Dumbledore. He speaks bitterly about their sister Ariana, about sacrifice, about power, but Harry refuses to walk away. He trusted the Dumbledore that he knew, and he's finishing what he started. Despite his misgivings about his brother, Aberforth helps them anyway. Ariana's portrait opens to reveal a hidden tunnel, and out steps our old pal, Neville Longbottom. Neville is back, and I know that you're a big Neville fan. How excited are you to see him at this stage?
I mean, boy, he looks tall. I think he's maybe 5'11", but he is leaps and bounds over everybody else in this film.
It's quite a small cast, isn't it?
Yeah. But I love that he's also talking about how part of his rebellion and stepping forth as a leader up at Hogwarts is really that he's kind of a conscientious objector. He's like, they want me to be hurting the first years and I'm refusing. And so finding the leadership qualities and just saying, I'm not going to hurt people. You don't have to be a warrior of aggression. I think being a moral leader, which is how I see him in that moment, is really important.
And it really suits him. You're right.
Suits him.
Neville explains that Hogwarts has become an absolute nightmare under the new DA professors, the Carrows, who are enforcing order to brutal ends. At points, the students have been forced to practice the Cruciatus Curse on first years. Despite the darkness, the resistance is still alive. The DA has been hiding inside the Room of Requirements, secretly protected and supplied by Aberforth. As Harry steps back into Hogwarts, the DA spreads the message of his return to what remains of the Order. Lightning has struck. Repeat, lightning has struck. Can you tell me about the score? Because every time this scene plays, I get a real internal welling of emotion.
I think it's one of the first times we can hear the score, the theme, just zoom back full strength. It sounds a little bit like people are getting their energy back, which you're looking around this room of weary students
they are.
Who have been to heck and back. You need that. I think the music almost has an energy that the room doesn't.
Yes, triumph. It's triumph.
Yeah.
And they've not had triumph for a little while, these guys.
I think we've earned this little bit of score.
Yeah, we have. And also, it's so important that Harry is now kind of trusting more than just the trio for help in the mission. Harry doesn't trust easily. So this kind of first venture into, okay, I need to ask now for help is so unlike him, but also so vital. And it feels like, oh, he's learning a lesson. Finally, he's learning the lesson. Harry explains that Voldemort hid a Horcrux inside the castle, likely something connected to Ravenclaw. They just don't know what it could be. Luna identifies it as Rowena Ravenclaw's lost diadem, which is like a tiara. Thank you, Cho. And just as they connect the dots, Ginny arrives with the news that Snape knows that Harry is back at school. And I really love this moment of Ron being like, Ginny, oh, she only has eyes for Harry. In the Great Hall, Snape addresses the students, threatening punishment for anyone helping Harry. His threats are muted, however, as Harry simply walks straight down the centre aisle with the Order behind him to confront Snape himself. What do you think about this monologue delivery by Dan Radcliffe?
Oh, it's lovely to see him come into power, right? But you feel emotion there. You are not worthy of standing in this place of honor. And it doesn't feel quite like a battle cry, I would say, but it sounds like a statement. Like a bravery. We're watching this room of kids who are having to go through, I think, actually a really remarkable test of bravery themselves. Will somebody step forward or else? right? Even just staying still in that room feels like a choice of courage. And then to have him just say, no, I will not even like pressure people to feel in this position. Enough people have to suffer on my behalf.
That's true.
You know,
I really felt like there was going to be an I am Spartacus moment here, though.
Yeah.
I really thought someone's going to be like, I'm Harry. I'm Harry. We're all Harry.
you know, if they had enough Polyjuice potion, they could do it.
They tried it once. It did not go well. McGonagall steps between them and engages Snape in a duel, although Snape is on the defense rather than the attack. After defending a few of McGonagall's blasts, directing some towards the Carrows, he retreats, flying out of the Great Hall. The torches reignite, the students erupt in cheers, but as ever, the joy is short-lived. At that very moment, Voldemort painfully invades everyone's minds at once, promising mercy in exchange for Harry Potter. Of course, it's Slytherin's Pansy Parkinson who volunteers Harry for sacrifice, but Ginny steps in front of him and everyone else follows suit. McGonagall orders all Slytherins to be escorted to the dungeons, and the battle preparations begin. There is this moment where Harry says to Neville, hold the fort. And I was just thinking about Neville's journey, and can you imagine saying that to Neville of film 1?
Well, yes. And then I can imagine everybody laughing. So here you don't. And I mean, speaking of just even people stepping up into their moment, you know, Harry and Ginny, their characters don't get that much time together. So taking advantage of moments where it's her who steps in front of him to protect him, those physical bits of staging, that's where you have your tiny seconds of convincing us. Because otherwise, in this movie, they barely even get to talk. It's more like, hey, hi, hello, hi.
Yeah.
You need to have these moments of physical staging in order for us to feel the emotion of how these characters actually feel about each other.
Absolutely. And I feel like Ginny has really found her power at this moment. And also the fact that she kind of leads the charge as well. And she's at the forefront. You know, she has those leadership qualities as well. And I guess this is where like the true Gryffindor elements really come through with all of these characters. Even though, you know, we've seen them go on a real journey. Both her and Neville are so incredibly shy as characters when we first meet them. And they both have become like really prominent ambassadors of their house, which I find kind of really satisfying. Also, a massive shout out to Professor McGonagall here, because again, we haven't seen much of her, and here she is stepping in, protecting the students. I think she must feel so betrayed at this moment by Snape, who she has considered a colleague and a friend for so many years. And obviously this has been building up over a year, but the fact that she too she's like, I will die to protect my students. That's like a real true teacher coming through.
That's true. And I think the way that you pointed that she's the one going on the attack, it's interesting. I think this fight is actually one of our biggest clues as to who Snape is as a character, because usually we judge characters in a fight scene over like who attacks first. You know, you want to root for the person who's like, I'm just defending myself. I'm just defending my honor. But it's actually Snape here who's on the defense. He's not trying to hurt her when you watch this battle, and he runs away so he won't have to.
Yes. And there's a moment of hesitation. He kind of raises his wand against Harry. Again, suspicious. But he almost lowers it, and he has to like, you see him steeling himself to go up against McGonagall, who, you know, he actually really does care for and admire.
How could you not?
How could you not? Harry and Luna head for Ravenclaw Tower to track down the Grey Lady, the ghost of Helena Ravenclaw, while Ron and Hermione go in search of basilisk fangs in the Chamber of Secrets. What a throwback. Around them, Hogwarts transforms into a fortress. Neville and Seamus rig the bridge to explode. Professors cast protective enchantments all around the grounds, and McGonagall animates the stone sentinels in epic fashion. Pio totem locomotor! I'm not doing a Scottish accent. And I'm also so moved that Molly Weasley is here in this moment as well. We have these two great matriarchs after so much of the story being incredibly focused on the men. And it's just a reminder that who's there holding the fort? It's McGonagall and Mrs. Weasley. Meanwhile, Helena Ravenclaw is less than pleased to see Harry. Reluctantly, she reveals the truth. Tom Riddle once charmed her into revealing the location of the diadem, which he then defiled by turning it into a Horcrux, and it's been tucked away in the room of hidden things ever since. We've got to shout out Kelly MacDonald, who plays the Grey Lady. What do you think of this performance, despite its brevity?
I'm always happy to see her.
Yeah, same.
Here, what's so fascinating about the way this whole confrontation is staged is you get this sense of these two actors using the space to kind of represent how the power of this fight is going. Harry's chasing after her, then she comes right up into his space to say like, no, you remind me of somebody I don't trust. Then they're chasing back after her. There's a lot of spiraling around. You almost feel how convincing he is in that moment based on their physical location to each other.
Yes. It's really, really great decisions around the blocking, which again, like I think that only comes when you're rewatching and reanalyzing a scene, but that it is so deliberate and so powerful. Harry goes off in search of the diadem just as Voldemort's army arrives. The protective barrier shatters under the assault. Neville boldly taunts the Death Eaters and detonates the bridge in a spectacular fashion. Ron and Hermione enter the Chamber of Secrets, and Hermione destroys Hufflepuff's cup with a basilisk fang before the two of them finally kiss. Finally a Hermione kiss. What are the emotions that we're feeling here after so much build-up?
I mean, definitely the production design wants you to feel relief. There's a little burst of water right behind them when it happens, like, ta-da, we did it. When I watch this kiss, it almost feels kind of like the shortest musical number ever made.
Yes,
right?
That's so true. Yes.
Because it's not like, oh, and who's going to do it tentatively? It's just, we have decided, kaboom. It's like someone yelled, go. And they just lunge toward each other.
It's magnets. They just kind of snap together, which I really love. And it is such a kind of climactic moment because you have this huge, like, I mean, the production design, like the wave kind of crashing over them. And it is relief more than anything else. And it's like we don't have long left, potentially. This could be it. We've got to grab this moment. And it's the only time that the two of them are alone and kind of will be for a very long time. Outside, the Battle of Hogwarts erupts. Harry races into the Room of Hidden Things, searching through mountains of discarded objects. But luckily, the Horcrux calls to his soul. Suddenly, Draco, Goyle and Blaise Zabini ambush Harry. Spells ricochet everywhere, including an Avada Kedavra aimed at Hermione. And Goyle unleashes Fiendfyre, and the entire room becomes an inferno. As they struggle to escape, Goyle falls to his death, engulfed by flames of his own making. The trio manages to escape on broomsticks, saving Draco and Blaise on the way out, because Harry Potter, unfortunately, remains incapable of letting people die, even if they might be the reason for the danger in the first place. Just before the doors slam shut, Harry stabs the diadem with a basilisk fang. Another Horcrux down. We talked a lot about like the horror in the Deathly Hallows. Tell us about the horror of Fiendfyre and what makes it so fantastical and evil.
It's interesting CG-wise because it looks like flames. It moves like water.
Yes.
It rolls, it ricochets, it kind of splashes against things. And once it's going, there's nothing you can do about it. You can disarm a person, you can take away a wand, but you can't do anything to this fire. I love that little moment where, they're climbing for safety because it's really the only way out. You're over their head kind of looking down at this like lake of fire. You see someone die, and then you cut to Draco's face watching his friend die. And then having 2 seconds of, oh God, what are we doing here? What have we all done?
Yeah.
And then he has to keep climbing. There's no stop to it.
I love the way that you describe the fire being like water. I'd never really thought about that movement before. But then you also get these creatures, these fantastical mythological creatures like chimeras and dragons coming out of it as well, which I can't imagine what it must have been like to be on the other end of that.
No, and then the three-headed Voldemort.
Yeah.
Right?
Ugh.
Which to me, the three-headedness of it feels like a callback almost to the first film. When they're attacked by the three-headed dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fluffy. Harry feels Voldemort weaken again, and he finally understands. Voldemort is protecting Nagini so closely because the serpent is the final Horcrux. And so the trio sets off to the boathouse to find them and end it all. And that is the first half of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Whew. Okay. Favourite moments, favourite scenes, favourite little character cameos?
I have a favorite moment that's really, really small, but I have to give it a shout out here. It's after they've escaped from Gringotts on the dragon. The dragon makes it to the top of the building. The dragon has been enslaved. The dragon has been tortured with noises. The dragon sits just on the edge of the building before they fly off, and it goes, and it takes in the fresh air. I love that moment because, gosh, we were even talking about this with Dobby, seeing how big the idea of oppression has been in this community, in this whole civilization. That the guard dragon needs to feel that moment of freedom and release. It's not just there to drive them to safety, fly them away. It appreciates this. It needed to be set free. I love that because to me, in a nutshell, I think it says so much about the scale of what's been going on here.
That's a really lovely moment to pull out because, again, I don't think I'd have noticed that. And it's also a reminder that kind of evil has been going on with or without Voldemort. Like, this is very much at the hands of the goblins. They're not letting it have its freedom.
No,
and
bring that chandelier down.
Yeah, on everybody. That's a really nice one. For me, it's always like the comedic moments that I always feel like are necessary throughout the really dark scenes. So like Ron on the broomsticks being like, if we die for them, I'm gonna kill you. Little bits like that, which I love. But also we see the twins' final moments together when Fred and George are preparing for battle, and we barely see them. We've barely seen them in the last couple of films. We see them under attack, under siege a fair bit, and just to have this moment of levity between them that actually isn't as light as we're used to seeing. You can see they're really putting on a brave face, and it's a breath before we know what's going to unfold. For me, that's it's just a favorite because they're my favorite characters. So it's just seeing them together one last time it's beautiful but hard to watch.
Oh, I think you're gonna cry.
I am gonna cry. My eyes are getting shiny.
You do realise, of course, we can't keep out you-know-who indefinitely.
That doesn't mean we can't delay him. And his name is Voldemort. Phileas, you might as well use it. He's going to try to kill you either way. Pier totum locomotor! Hogwarts is threatened. Man the boundaries. Protect us. Do your duty to our school. I've always wanted to use that spell.
As Hogwarts mobilises for battle, we are required to discuss the details of this incredible montage. Everyone, adults, students alike, boldly decide to put their lives on the line to defend what they believe in. And I think maybe we ought to start with talking about the camera work here, because that is as much a part of the action as the performers. So tell us about some of the decisions that they make, especially when it comes to creating this incredible dome-like shield around Hogwarts.
Yeah, and the shield creation, I'm so glad we're talking about that, because the camera does such a neat thing, right? You have this camera above the three characters, Slughorn, Flitwick, Molly, and it's doing almost the same motion for all three of them. As they're creating this spell, it's above them and it pulls up, so you feel the magic going up in the air above them, kind of creating this wall. And even audio-wise, their dialogue is sort of overlapping of each other, one spell on top of the other, on top of the other. You get the sense of upward cohesion. I think the camera makes you feel the spell going into the air.
They're so enmeshed. There's a really lovely little bit just before them when Slughorn is sort of like scuttling down the steps. And I think he's like taking a sip of something. And I was always like, oh, it's just, a bit of like liquid courage. And then I realized it's probably like Felix Felicis, right? He's probably just going for like a bit of liquid luck in this moment. And I was like, how smart.
Oh, that's really beautiful. That's just such a tiny little character detail.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like these people have lived in their characters long enough that like, I know what he would do right now. I know what he would do right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And also we're just looking at this like physical representation of Hogwarts under attack. Hogwarts stepping forth to defend itself. The soldiers from the building jumping off, coming into life.
So cool. It's so cool. McGonagall's excitement of getting to use a spell that she has obviously heard about, has never gotten to use. It's infectious. And I love Julie Walters' little side eye in this moment. Just like, okay, keep it together, Minerva, come on.
That is true, but it also underscores how long a sort of peace has been in effect. Because what is a school for, right? What is a school like Hogwarts for? It's to train you to be ready to step up when the time comes.
That's true. It's a really nice reminder of all of the times that we've spent there alongside these characters. So the moment of acknowledgement of what Seamus Finnegan is really well known for, i.e. blowing things up accidentally. And now he's getting to do that on purpose. You just see his little face in the background when Neville's like discussing it with McGonagall. You just see Seamus's face like light up, which is, again, just really appealing for fans who have followed this all the way through. It's kind of just like a little, oh, we see you, don't worry. We're like, this is your payoff.
Yeah, we all have these parts to play.
It's still really emotional as well, seeing the grown-ups and the children, which I know they're not children anymore, but they still feel like children to us, fighting side by side. We see them all preparing as equals as well. So we have, as we talked about earlier, the twins, are you okay, Freddie? That really poignant moment. You have Lupin and Shacklebolt sort of gearing themselves up. Lupin says his own like motivational quote, which I love. And also like the kind of foreshadowing. We have foreshadowing here between Lupin and Tonks. Outstretched hands, not quite touching.
They love that move. And including all these details, I don't want to underscore the moment where McGonagall is like, let's call Voldemort by his name.
Yeah.
Let's just call this out as what it is.
Yes.
That's brave.
It's brave, but it also feels like the adults are having to do some catching up. As we talked about, like the children have been doing this actually for a long time. And I guess there is the whole thing about the taboo. They're not allowed to say Voldemort's name because that's how the Snatchers find them. But in this moment, obviously, it's too late. Voldemort knows where they are.
Exactly.
But the kids and Dumbledore have been like doing this for a little while. But you're right, to have McGonagall sort of state it so bluntly is a power move.
It does. It feels like everybody being like, we have to be on the same page now.
Mm-hmm. Also, Molly Weasley, because she's always we only ever see her in really domesticated settings. Even when there are fights going on, she's always sort of left behind a little bit, or she's in the kitchen, or she's waiting. And to see her like in the thick of the action alongside McGonagall, I'm really grateful for, because then it lays the way for what we see later for her fight scene. And it's a reminder that like she's a survivor, she's a fighter, she's a mother, she's also a protector. And I really love that they have deliberately taken her away and placed her very front and center of the Order this time around for the first time.
I think you're exactly right. And I think it does kind of two things. Like it emboldens her, it underscores her power, and it also, I think, drives home the point that like Hogwarts is a home.
That's really lovely. Also, another shout out to our Gryffindor King, who I feel like has usurped Harry a little bit, Neville, who again has a real moment of triumph here. Tell us about the bridge.
Yeah, he is alone out there, standing his ground against this force of Death Eaters who are trying to come across at him. And not only does he sort of puff up, we've got this, he has to carry that weight. When he realizes he's wrong, he has to make a quick decision and think on the fly. Crumbling the bridge feels like a very Neville way of fighting. You're not mowing everyone down, but you are tactically doing a thing that helps you win.
And we get Scabia again. There's like a real like hero's moment where he falls and you think Neville has fallen too. And then we see the clambering back up, which again feels like a real great like action movie hero, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is in a way Neville's last stand too. It feels very much like the fall of the Alamo. We don't know what's going to happen. We're outnumbered. Mm-hmm. So what are we going to do? I better seize every single moment here.
It is time for Owl Post. An owl has arrived from a fellow Potter fan, and I think you're going to have some thoughts on this one. This is from Jack in Hertfordshire. I've sent an owl in the hopes of giving the Slytherins who fought in the Battle of Hogwarts their flowers. We're not all like Pansy Parkinson. Preach, Jack. After getting banished to the dungeons by McGonagall, I like to think that not every Slytherin student stayed there. Let's not forget our head of house, Slughorn, joining the fray and helping to form the Shield of Hogwarts. In the books, we know Slughorn went away and returned with reinforcements, and that's the most Slytherin play ever. We'll fight, but we'll form a plan first. We don't blindly dive into battle without a care like Gryffindor. We're smart, we're cunning. Slughorn ensured that he saved his own skin so that he could effectively contribute to the fight. Cunning, not cowardly. What do you think of this, Amy?
Convincing.
Yeah?
Cunning, convincing. What do you think about it? I can see your pride.
I do completely agree. And I think because, I mean, our most famous Slytherin, apart from Voldemort, is Draco. And seeing his sort of inner turmoil here, it's so fraught. He has no idea really which way it's going to land. He's kind of got his loyalty to I do think that Slytherins are very loyal. He has his loyalty to his family. He's worried about protecting them. He's also, of course, like Slughorn, worried about protecting his own skin, which is why he goes after Harry in the first place. But this feels like a real moment of desperation and not cunning. I really like the moment in Deathly Hallows Part 2 where you see this real moment of deliberation where he's wondering whether he should stay with Hogwarts or move over to the Death Eaters. He's left with very little choice, but I like to think, given a choice, he would have stayed.
I mean, you're making me think of a point, which is that when you're a person in this world, living in the moment, when you're not us, reading the story, watching the story, seeing it from afar, having a sense of how this will all shake out, you don't necessarily know what right and wrong is going to be for sure.
Yeah.
I almost feel like in rewatching the series with you, I understand it better. Like I can see the mechanics of how the world works, of how creeping totalitarianism can start. So I will give a lot of grace to Slytherins who weren't quite sure where they stood at the beginning and then ultimately made a choice for the benefit of the good.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Jack's right. I think there will be some brave Slytherins who I think would have stood up and fought. There is this really sweeping generalization, and Slughorn is a really good example of that. He was on the right side of history, and I'm sure many other Slytherins were as well.
You can write that book.
Maybe I will.
Yeah. Slytherins who were pretty good.
Who were okay. Jack, thank you so much for sending in your owl. And we do really want to hear from the rest of you. So keep an eye on our socials at Harry Potter for your chance to send in your favourite moments, your burning questions, and like Jack, your hottest takes.
We can't just stand here. Who's got an idea?
Sure, the brilliant one.
I've got something, but it's mad. Reducto! Well, come on then! Reducto!
The break-in and escape from Gringotts is one of the most memorable, I think, and technically ambitious set pieces in the entire franchise. So why do you think this sequence stands apart from so many of the other big set pieces in the series?
They shot it like a thrill ride because I think they're hoping it could be a thrill ride. It is a thrill ride.
Yeah.
It is a roller coaster at Orlando, but you're on the track. You're rolling all around. It says, imagine yourself here. We know how a roller coaster feels, right? It's sensory that way.
It is very sensory, you're right. Like we can basically feel like the wind in our hair as we're like riding this dragon.
Am I having fun? Am I scared?
Yeah.
Fun, scared.
I think probably, if it's me, terrified. I'm not a good roller coaster person, and so probably not a good dragon rider either.
Oh, I'm having a blast.
You're having a blast. You're great. You're at the front. You're holding onto the horns. How do you think the energy of the trio kind of really plays into this? Because there is no plan. I mean, Hermione has a vague one and it's mad. That's how this kind of comes about. But how is that portrayed in how this sequence plays out? The fact that they are just all kind of like barely holding it together.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a funny moment of admitting it, right? We make a plan, all hell breaks loose, right? But I respect it because I think you have to make a plan so that when all hell breaks loose, you've at least thought a little bit about where you are and what might happen and how you could get out. A little bit.
I feel like I'm always complimenting Ron Rupert Grint on his like look. In the last few films especially, he's really come into his own. But we see him in disguise in this, and he has amazing hair as part of his Gringotts break-in disguise. And I had the opportunity to sit down one-on-one with one of the magic makers who helped create so many of those iconic looks that we've been obsessed with throughout the series, hair designer Lisa Tomblin. So let's take a look at what she had to say. Lisa Tomblin, welcome to Harry Potter, the official film podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
When you think about the Deathly Hallows Part 2, because of the battle, there's like dust, there's blood, there's debris, but, you know, we still have to be able to see these characters really clearly and kind of read the emotion. So how do you make sure that the look of them supports everything that they've been going through, but doesn't sort of overwhelm the performances?
You have to make sure it's believable. So everything that they've been through has to be believable, but it's not like you look. I mean, I always say whenever I'm doing a film, if you look at an actor and you think, oh, great hair and makeup or fabulous costume, you've lost that straight away. So you just have to keep it real. You have to think, what have they been through? How much dirt and debris have they got on them? And what's realistic that the public aren't going to just be so distracted by it. Obviously, hair and makeup, a lot of us now do both. But at the time, you know, Amanda and I was makeup and I was hair, and we worked in the same room. So, you know, we discussed everything. I'm really proud of everyone on my team and the whole hair and makeup department. And, you know, as I've looked back on these films now with fresh eyes, I just think, you know, it all kind of worked.
Ron's Death Eater disguise in that scene for the Gringotts break-in is also just really interesting, because we kind of have to see like an older version of Ron. He's kind of like, he's a bit slicker, he's more grown up, he's more severe, but we still need to see that it's Ron underneath. So how did you approach that look?
I got a lot of wigs and I was just trying them on because Rupert was absolutely adorable and he giggles at everything. So everything we put on, he was giggling at. And then we sort of came to this one wig, which actually fitted him quite well. And I was like, what about this, Rupes? Put a little beard on you. And, you know, you're still, because we still obviously wanted to keep the red, you know, the redness in there and sort of reddy blonde hair. And he was like, yeah, that will work. That will work. So that's kind of, you know, and he pulled it off because he's such a brilliant actor and he just became that different sort of, well, Rupert in disguise, Ron, I should say, in disguise. So
it really suited him. I was really surprised at like how good it looked. Was there like a particular character or sequence from the Deathly Hallows Part 2 that you found personally especially satisfying in terms of a transformation or just like a job was sort of very well done?
Well, I always I loved doing Helen McCrory's wig because she was a new character in the Half-Blood Prince. So because I obviously started designing them on the Half-Blood Prince. And I love the way her wig looked in the forest as she turns around. I just love the different colour combos at the back. Because I believe in the book she had long blonde hair.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
And I had a wig made and we did a camera test and I didn't really like it. And I said to David Yates, I don't really think it works on her and I think it looks, I don't really like it. Can I try something? And I was like, you know, you come from the Black family, so you are dark and you've married into the Malfoy family, which is blonde. So how about we do like a little combo of both of them? So, which no one else has got in the film. So she was like, okay. So I presented it to David and I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to be fired. And he's like, yeah, I love it, mate. Yeah, let's go for it. And in actual fact, when we started the Deathly Hallows, Helen said to me, could I have a fringe? And I was like, yeah, why not? So, and so that was her idea. I think that's probably one of my favourite looks. Yeah. If you want a favourite look, that's definitely up there.
What great teamwork as well.
There's so many lovely things. I mean, I do have a story, if you want, about Tom Felton, and I know I'm allowed to say it. When we were doing, it was the part 2 of the Deathly Hallows in the Room of Requirements when they were set on fire. So I'm not sure if it was the beginning or the end of Tom's bit in the scene, but we'd shot one of them and then he had a break and he went to America to do a film. And they said, oh, we want you to have dark hair. And he said, I can't have dark hair. I'm blonde, Harry Potter. So it's okay, we'll just put a bit of temporary colour in and it will wash out. So I didn't know any of this. So Tom arrives back. We're going to shoot with him the next day to finish the scene that we've already started. And he's got green hair. I was like, oh, what happened to your hair? So he told me this story. They quickly got one of the stunt wigs and measured his head and sent it up to our lovely wig maker, Alex Rouse. And she altered a wig. And one of the great hairdressers, Fran Crowder, actually literally overnight cut it and fitted it on him. And he wore that in that scene. So half of it he's in his own hair and half of it he's in a wig.
Oh my goodness, so, it's seamless.
Well, that's good because that was very stressful. I was like, because people kept coming up to say, have you seen Tom? I was like, no, but you're the second person that said that. What's going on? He's got green hair. Okay.
I love that. I feel like you're looking back on it maybe with like rose tinted glasses a little bit of like, oh, it was a nice challenge rather than an overnight absolute panic.
We don't tend to panic. I'm not a panicker. I mean, I was like, wow, okay, something needs to be done here. I have to say, the Harry Potter group was a real family. It's probably the most family you're ever going to feel on a film. No one was very precious at all because it was so massive and it was so important that we were all on the same page and we were all working together and everyone was happy.
I want to talk about the epilogue because it is such a huge moment for fans. So how did you approach aging Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, Draco in a way that felt believable, but also still like emotionally connected to the characters, the young kids that we all grew up with? And how involved did they get in their looks as well?
Well, it was funny actually because we did a lot of tests for that. And first of all, it was decided to use prosthetics on their faces and age them that way. And then therefore they would all have to have wigs because their hairlines would be receding.
Right.
And we did those tests and funnily enough, I wasn't really convinced. I almost thought they looked too old. And then at the time I was around 40. So I was saying I went to see a film that was set in the 60s. In fact, it was Nick Moran's film. He invited me to go and see. And I thought, well, they've done it really well because they haven't tried too hard. So I went back to David Yates and I said, you know, I'm looking at myself and my skin at 40. I'm looking around me. I don't know if we should go down the prosthetics route. I think we should just maybe change glasses shape, hair off the face, maybe a little bit mottled from, you know, life. But, you know, they're not that old. And so we all had a big discussion about it. It wasn't, you know, I'm not a genius at all, but I think everyone put their opinions in and we decided to try it without too much prosthetics, with little bits and bobs. And, you know, just changing, just taking Harry's hair off his face, taking Ron's hair off his face. Emma was in a wig because she'd cut her hair, which is because, you know, we'd had a massive break in the film. And obviously Ginny Weasley, just to have a little something, she was in a wig as well. And even Draco, you know, I remember putting just a little bit of longer hair on him and putting it in a ponytail. And, you know, he had a little blonde son but you still, you knew straight away, you felt it.
And I mean, you talked about kind of being on set for these very like emotional moments. And I know that wasn't necessarily the last shot that was filmed. But can you remember the emotions as sort of standing there and thinking, oh, this is the end. This is the end for this kind of franchise that we've been working on for years, and how you felt in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, we all stood round in the stage and the last shot was done. And then, you know, you'd look around at the crew and everyone was in tears. It was a very, very emotional day. And, you know, it was sad to leave because normally you do a film, you've had a great time, you're happy with what you've done and you move on. But this was a journey and you saw these kids grow up and you saw their characters develop. So it was a very emotional time. And yeah, I mean, God, I shed many, many a tear.
That's our experience watching the films as well, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I cried watching them yesterday. So.
I cry talking about it. Like when we're on the podcast, sometimes I get really emotional. So yeah, you can tell how much it means to people who worked on it. Lisa, thank you so much for talking to us. It's been such a pleasure having you on.
You're so welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
It's time for trivia. Are you ready?
Liquid courage.
Yes. I've definitely doused your drink with Felix Felicis for sure. First up, what does Ariana Dumbledore hold in her portrait? Is it A, a book? Is it B, a diadem? Or is it C, a cat?
I'm going to pick what I would be holding. C, a cat.
I would go for what I would be holding, which is A, a book. And I would be right and you would be wrong. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Even in my wrongness, I would at least have something to hug.
What is the DA's code phrase for Harry's return to Hogwarts?
Lightning has struck.
Lightning has struck. Yes. Didn't even need to give you multiple choice that time. What creature emerges from the piles of lost items in the Room of Hidden Things? Is it A, Cornish pixies, which we first saw in the Chamber of Secrets? Is it B, Nargles, which are the things that Luna is obsessed with? Or is it C, Grindylows, which were in Lupin's office the first time that Harry went into it?
Oh my gosh, they're small. And there's a lot of them. I'm going to go with A, pixies.
Yes, they are Cornish pixies. Well done. You've done so well. You're really nailing it for Ravenclaw this time.
I appreciate that. It's all the spell. Thank you so much.
It's all the cheating from the Felix Felicis. Good job, Amy. I'm going to give you 80 points to Ravenclaw.
Oh, my brothers and sisters of Ravenclaw are so proud.
If any of you out there think that you can beat Amy's score or you want to try your hand at trivia, then visit harrypotter.com/quiz to test your own knowledge. The trolley's here, our favourite time of the podcast, because it means a little sweet treat. So I'm going to reward your hottest take, or if you have like a burning question, or just some interesting commentary with something sweet from the trolley. So Amy, what do you have for me?
I'm going to toss this out to you. I think Neville's job was as hard as Harry's.
What do you mean?
I mean, Harry's out there hunting Horcruxes, getting hunted. Sure, pretty tough. Also a fair amount of camping, hanging out, laying low. Neville has to tolerate abuse every single day, keep it together, and be a leader not just for 2 people, which is hard enough for Harry. He's down to 1 when it's just him and Hermione, but he has to keep the school together. For me, that would be harder. Like, I can behave myself in big strokes, but the daily minutia and the grind of being Neville in this situation, I think equally challenging.
I think that's actually a really fair point. We see how Harry is affected by these months of Horcrux hunting and camping, as you say. We watch him get more and more like haggard as that goes on. And when we see Neville, he is as equally beaten up, if not more. And you understand that that is just like the latest in a daily battering from the Carrows or whoever.
Exactly. And imagine, it's not even just like you're getting it from the top down to the Carrows. You're getting the younger kids saying like, help me. What do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And if you have a sort of emotional conscience, if you are Gryffindor with the heart of a Hufflepuff, like Neville is, the weight of all of that expectation of like helping people has to be incredibly hard. Harry's wrestling with himself, his inner soul. Hermione's doing a lot of the work. Neville is doing like management.
Management. Yeah, he is. And he's also still at school. Like, he presumably still has to be doing his homework and concentrating in lessons. It's not just about like the extracurricular dark stuff. Presumably he still has like charms and potions. And yeah, that's a really good point. I never really thought about it because, again, we're always so aligned with Harry. But yeah, poor old Neville. He has to step into Harry's shoes while he's at Hogwarts.
It doesn't even occur to me that they're doing homework. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, on top of all of that.
You're right.
Imagine.
Right. We're not just here to learn how to defeat the Dark Lords.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is a very, very, very good hot take. What would you like as your reward?
Swollen with the pride of Ravenclaw, that I think I have to take the official Ravenclaw tin of sweets.
Are you going to display it proudly in your house somewhere?
Perhaps I shall put it over the mantle.
Perfect. Then you may take the sweets.
Thank you. Well, now what about you? Give me your hot take.
So my hot take, we sort of mentioned earlier about Harry and Ron using the Imperio curse, which is, of course, an unforgivable. They only use it once and it's on Bogrod. They use it twice on him. But also, it is the height of war. So why aren't they doing this left, right and centre? Why don't they do it to Griphook, for example? They do talk about how hard it is to place it on talented witches and wizards. But I feel like they could be using Imperius a lot more, right?
I mean, that would actually be really impressive. Everybody's storming on the bridge and like, nope, got it.
Yeah.
We can take care of this.
Yeah, like when the Snatchers come, Imperius them, they are not going to be smart enough to be able to throw off the Imperius curse. Scabia, are you kidding? Like, he would absolutely be able to fall under Hermione's incredible curse. Yeah, so this is my take. Use the magic that you have at your disposal to the nth degree. Don't try and be noble the whole time, because it is for the greater good. They are the good guys. They are good. They're not doing this to exploit individuals. They're doing this to win so that everybody can live in peace. So yeah, I feel like unforgivable curse away. Right?
You know what? I think you deserve a treat for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to go once more for the chocolate frog because they just look so pretty. Trolley, thanks once more for all your hard work and for bringing us some lovely sweets. You may leave now. Thank you. Goodbye. Well, we're halfway through the Deathly Hallows Part 2, but the final showdown is still to come. So next time, Amy and I finish out the series with the conclusion of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
We've come so close to the end.
We are so close. Join us on our film-by-film look back through the series and rewatch every Harry Potter film on HBO Max. And in the meantime, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and keep up with the latest from us on social media at Harry Potter. As we make our way through the films, we'll be checking the comments to dissect your burning questions and your hottest takes. Until then, save your tears for the right moment. And whatever you do, don't underestimate Neville Longbottom. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Might it not be more prudent to call off this attack? Simply seek the boy yourself.
I do not need to seek the boy.
Before the night is out, he will come to me. Do you understand?
Harry Potter, the official film podcast, is produced by HBO Max in partnership with Pod People. This podcast is hosted by me, Rhianna Dhillon. Our head writer and lead producer is Angela Palladino, and our associate producer is Emily Mansfield. Our line producer and production manager is Hannah Pedersen, casting by Brianna Frapart. Production design done by Liz Klakowski and her team Kevin Fallon, Marcel Banks, Jeff Cross and Amelia Caceres. Our technical director is In-Sung Huang, along with camera operator Nick Gregorio. Our studio audio engineer is Frank Galvan. Hair and makeup by Ali Elizabeth. Production assistance by Cameron Robson. Our video editor is Susanna Vasquez, and the show is mixed by Carter Wogan and Marina Pais. From the HBO Max podcast team, Alison Cohen-Sorokach, Michael Gluckstadt, Becky Rowe, Kenya Reyes, and Erin Kelly. Special thanks to Emily Brandon and Reese Allgood from the Harry Potter digital team. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.